Here's Patrick Johnston of the Province and Postmedia.
Leftover lasagna, guys, is better.
That's also good.
Oh, yes.
That's also good. Steeps into the noodles.
I've had some of that recently. Yeah. It is the one food that is better microwaved. Like if you have leftover lasagna and you microwave it the next day, somehow it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about poutine. You can't ever microwave poutine. It tastes like really tasty food when it's ready and hot and ready to go. Really terrible when you microwave it.
The underrated thing to heat stuff up, so fries and pizza, is your air fryer.
So we have gone to air fryer here more frequently than we did before.
You're going to appreciate this, Patrick. Ordering food, and you always order more as your kids get through school, so you have less lunches to make in the morning.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it. Oh, no.
It's the veteran.
Well, the thing you learn when they're very young is that sometimes you need to think about what kind of snacks does daddy want to eat later.
There's that, too. Always just order more. Except for sushi. I made that mistake.
No,
you can't eat sushi later.
Yeah, no, sushi doesn't try. Yeah.
How long are we going to not talk about the Canucks? Should we just keep going here?
It's very indicative, isn't it? Very indicative.
Oh, God.
What's there to talk about? Elias Pettersson barely played. What's there to talk about?
This is what I spent. I'm still digging.
Jake DeBrusk played even less.
Like, how do you do? And, there's a lot of, especially in that second period, there's a lot of, like, just roll them.
Yeah.
And you're like, why is this happening?
Like, was it with you a couple of weeks ago or last week where I said,
we talked the city
Willie
in the playoffs.
With Willie, yeah. And like, I just think there were times, and you remember Willie used to be so fidgety on the bench, and there were times where I just went there and went, maybe his brain just can't handle it. Maybe he just needs to roll 4 lines for the sake of order.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sure hope that Adam Foote and this relatively inexperienced staff aren't just doing this because it's the easy way to deploy lines. Like, it's got to be a little more tactical than what we saw last night, no?
Get inside his head. What's he thinking?
Yeah, the thing that I'm trying to get my head around is looking at, for instance, like the shift length. So, like, Petey only has 4 shifts in the third period, partly because there's 2 power plays. He plays those whole power plays, basically. And wasn't in the PK rotation. So there's a 5-minute gap in him being on the ice in the third period. Now, granted, it's already 4-1, and you're playing 4 and 6. And so the thing I would like to know, it's lingering here, and this is a frustration about not being on the road, and I'll be honest about that, was there they know so much stuff about the players' sort of physiology now, and not just, because they've got the catapult tracker chips, that I think people originally first came across in soccer, but is everywhere now. And the amount of data they're actually now pulling in the NHL is a lot higher than they used to. And they just know about energy outputs and what these guys are at. Like, they know how much is in the tank. Like, it's like a video game now. And so that's the one thing that is missing from this line of questioning, because it is very odd. He played a lot the previous couple of games, and then all of a sudden he's down to 16 minutes, and a lot of it's because he just wasn't playing at 5-on-5, especially in the third. And granted, there were a couple long shifts in there, and long shifts take longer to recover for, but it's the beginning of the year. You're trying to come back. Like, was there a bigger picture? Of course, again, can't ask the question because I'm not there, but these are the things I'm wondering in the morning, because fundamentally, if you are trying to win, and they did it with Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is playing a ton every night and some long shifts.
Those top 4 defensemen are playing their, what's off already.
Yeah. So it's just odd because, like, honestly, like, listen, the story is now being well discussed. Petey is not shooting enough. There's a lot of other good things happening, but he is not shooting enough.
6 attempts last night. It was okay. It was okay last night.
Yeah, I'm just looking. His average shift length over the course of the season, Patrick, is 51 seconds.
That's long.
It's fourth on the tee. Yeah, it's quite long. It's quite long.
Like, they're getting these long shifts partly because they're not doing the same thing the power plays they did last year, where they just play the whole 2 minutes. Like, they are, PP2 is actually seeing some time, but in general, Foote seems to be inclined towards longer shifts. Remember how Rick Tocchet talked about 35 seconds? Like, he was obsessed about it. And that was him. I dug around on it. I couldn't actually figure out, but that was as far as I could tell. Him sort of interpreting the science, like the sports science data they had available to them, and saying, I really think I need my guys, because if I make my guys go 35 seconds, they're going to go harder. Like there's less coasting, I guess. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of his principle. Now, so it's not the only answer. They're going longer shifts in general now. So there's a difference, but if the idea is to get your guy more on the ice a little more often, it's harder to do that when he's taking long shifts, because those do take longer to recover from. So there's just an overall sort of packaging that is odd. There is no doubt this is something that is standing out about Adam Foote, and like I said, you go look at the shift chart, and especially in the second period where there were not as many penalties, there's a real roll-em element, and
we would have been slicing it really thin if it was a difference of 90 seconds or 2 minutes, but when we're getting up to 4 minutes difference between him and Sherwood, when he's playing the same amount at even strength as Joe LeBate, it's weird. And it's not like this was a 4-0 game after 10 minutes, because then, we're on to Nashville early on in that game, and you're preserving. This was a 1-1 game with 6 minutes left to go in the second period.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, well, and that be trotting them out.
Tight game. Yeah, like why aren't you going hard with your guy? Like it's strange. Like Kiefer Sherwood should play a lot, especially when you're missing a bunch of your guys, right? But it's just the sort of there's just a lot hanging in the air here that we still don't understand, because it is very, very strange to me the way this is all being set up. I mean, it's just like Pettersson. I don't care about plus minus. It's mostly an overrated stats, but like, guess who the 3+ players were last night? Elias Pettersson, Connor Garland, and Jake DeBrusk, because they were on for the first goal of the game, right?
Right. If he had used him more, that may have come down.
Yeah,
maybe,
or not, or the game's different. I don't know. It's just there is a roll-em element here, and it's not it is a.
Well, what I don't get about it, Patrick, is like, if we were sitting here digesting this event summary with these ice times on a night when you were perfectly healthy throughout the lineup, you could say, coach made a decision that other guys were going, or there were things he didn't like about Elias's game, and perhaps faceoffs were those things.
Hoglander, Hedel, and Besser were going.
Exactly. But you were without 5 regulars, 4 forwards, and this is what you spit out.
Well, like the face-off thing is the other thing that occurred to me. That, listen, if you see your guys not, he still took 22 face-offs, so it's not like you're trying to get him avoid taking face-offs. He's just losing all of them. And face-off, not every face-off matters as much as another. Power play face-offs matter a lot more than others. Teams do try to diagram up set plays off face-offs, but in the big picture, it's how much are you on the ice, and Elias Pettersson just simply isn't on the ice enough, and that is one way or another the coach's choice. So it is certainly something that I think. And like, here's the funny thing:
well, he's brutal in the dot all year.
Friday. We are not going to ask unless IMAC asks him about it today after practice. We are not going to be talking about this until most likely till an hour and a half, 2 hours before Saturday's game against the Habs, because there's no morning skates, an early game. They're not practicing on Friday. They have a practice today. I don't know if they're going to have a morning skate in Nashville. Adam Foote does seem to be a guy who likes morning skates. So yes, I suppose there will be 2 media opportunities for either Murph or IMAC to ask, but that's never been the kind of thing that, IMAC never gets into the nitty gritty on these kinds of things. And that's not really Dan's job. I mean, it is a frustration of how I have to deal with my job, and people don't want to hear about my problems. But
I'm done hearing about your problems. We gave you 3 chances to whine about your problems. We're moving on from your problems. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear media whine, but Patterson's 41% in the dot all season long. Hedel was 47. Bluger was 34.5.
First game
they're getting destroyed in the faceoff. Like, is it possible that Adam Foote is so old school? He's like, we're just.
I don't know.
I don't know. We're still figuring.
I mean, ultimately, it just comes down to the roster is not deep enough, not good enough, too, right? I mean,
that's the other.
That's it.
Let's be real. They played a ton of the guys that were in the AHL. just last season. Some of them are here, I think, on merit, and some of them are here because this is, sometimes you have to dress a lot. Sometimes this is how you're going to dress your lineup, right? Like I had someone say to me, "Well, I can't believe they're up against the cap and they're having to do all this." I'm like, they have 5 injuries. Like, that's not on them. Like, that's them dealing with the problem, and the problem is they don't have enough guys. And most teams would struggle with this, but the other truth is. And this comes back to, I see not Tyler Benson, Zach Benson. Zach Benson, another brilliant night. And you're just sitting back going, oh, those were some choices. And, Logan Stankoven has that huge contract in Carolina. And those were guys that were sitting there and could have been drafted, and they weren't. And the Canucks have no center depth to speak of. And here we are.
What'd you think of the goaltending last night?
I mean, it's gonna happen. Listen, did they test Artie Party enough? Probably not. That comes back to the Pettersson question we've been discussing on. Your first line did play pretty well. You just didn't use them very much. Did Kevin Lankinen give them a chance to win? I mean, you probably one of those goals back, and then it's a 3-1 game. Fundamentally, why did they lose? They scored 1 goal. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
He's on the list. He's on the list, but he's further down.
But the question becomes, is there a point here soon where Kevin Lankinen would lose coach's confidence? Because we know what that means. That means we're overplaying Demko, right?
I don't think we're there.
Yeah.
Do you think we're anywhere near there, or that's still a ways away? Okay. All right. Let's just move on.
No, I think he's he didn't have a great start last night, but I thought his other 2 starts were pretty good. So. Okay.
And Adam Foote the good news is Adam Foote saw Lankinen last year too, right? Like if it's a brand new coach that didn't have eyes on Lankinen last year, I think Adam Foote knows what Lankinen can do.
And generally the goalie call still remains with Marco Terenius, right? This is on him, and he's the guy making the calls with that. I suppose if Lankinen starts throwing up some real stinkers, back to back to back, then there's going to be some serious discussions between coach and the goalie coach and the head coach. But I don't think we're at that point. Last night was not a great start, but again, it's hard to win with one.
Very few teams are going to pack it in October and start sending you good players for futures. But are we at the point where it's so desperate for the Canucks that they should pick up the phone and make Conroy on Nazem Kadri or Dubas on Evgeny Malkin, make one of them think with a Godfather offer because you're so desperate?
Well, I'm not sure what they actually have to give that would really, truly interest the Penguins in Evgeny Malkin.
Wielander, Coots, first-round picks.
Yeah, I don't think they're trading. I've already said the problem, which is that they have so few young setters. I don't think Coots is an untouchable. My impression is that Wielander remains an untouchable, even though they've got all this depth in front of them. I mean, I just as a side note, I'm a bit anxious about how Junior Pettersson's playing right now. I don't think he's been especially good since the season started. They've pushed him down to 6th on the rotation, and he's not played great. But anyway, listen, we know they have been looking for a center. They've been open about this for months and months and months. Lecker Mackey would be a guy that that would have some value, but he's now hurt and has been so-so to start the season. So what is the true value there? They just don't have a lot to work with. They've got a couple goalies, but goalies don't bring you anything. There's just not a lot.
No, Patrick, they have a lot to work with.
Okay.
They have, as you mentioned, they have EPD.
Coots,
that was EPD. No. What do you mean you're not going to move Coots? Come on.
If they're not, but I'm just telling you, if that's
he's not untouchable. He's an 18-year-old with the Seattle Thunderbirds. Come on.
Yeah, but not for those two guys.
This isn't Gavin McKenna.
Not for those two guys.
If you're not going to move them, what do you have to move? That's what I'm saying.
You have Lecker Mackey. You have Nils Hoglander. You have EPD. You have Tom Wielander. You have Braden Coots. You have Kirill Kudryavtsev. You have Sawyer Mineo. You have first-round picks and second-round picks. Don't tell me they can't construct a package of futures that is going to be about the price that a Malkin or a Kadri gets traded for. You may have to up the ante at this stage of the game, but they can absolutely put together that package. They've just got to summon the gumption. They've just got to summon the, we are all in on this. Fair enough.
All prospects are bad. Like, that's just, don't forget that.
No, they're not bad.
No, they are. Most of them are not going to be anything interesting. Almost every one of those guys you just listed is a guy that's probably
their phone was burning.
The sixth defenseman and a fourth line winger.
No. Their phone was burning up last year with people wanting EPD.
That's nice. He hasn't played very well.
You think 7 poor games has destroyed the vet? Come on.
He's now a sixth.
No. They have the assets. They just have to summon the, we're all in on this season because we want to keep Quinn Hughes. Once they get to that point, suddenly I think you've got the conditions for a trade.
Okay, you bristled or you oohed and awed at the EPD comment from Patrick Johnston. How about the guy at the top of the depth chart? Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
He's not playing poorly, but he's certainly not a wizard as we know him to be.
I have had a couple of people ask me, is everything all right? Like, what's going on there? And I'm like, he's playing a lot. It turns
he's
out
always done that.
Hammering the puck. It's tough to say. It's a tough one to say that I find myself, I've said this, I think, before here already, that, I kind of have, if things go wrong and the season doesn't play out as they hope it will, the fact this season started with a Quinn Hughes, literally the first event of the season was a Quinn Hughes chip out from his own end that became a turnover, and Calgary went the other way. They didn't score, but it was an immediate, and it was just so it is so much potential there for a metaphor for the whole year. I think about that a lot. Now, I think Hughes was pretty great last night. It stands out to me, and to go back to the Pettersson question, it does stand out to me how much Hughes still works to find a quick shot from the point, which is a floater shot, right? Like, it's not an especially effective shot, but it's a shot where he's trying to make trouble in front, something that can be tipped, and how good he remains at that. And I find myself thinking, Pettersson, we're talking about you need to shoot more. Like, you're not the same player as Quinn Hughes, but Quinn Hughes is finding that gap. So find that gap. Like, keep pressing, finding that gap. Now, obviously, he needs more ice time to do that, but the rate is low, so he's not shooting enough. He's not thinking shoot enough. But on the Hughes question, he has not been the 100% electric self. He's been losing defensive battles, which he doesn't like to happen. He's a guy that prides himself on his defense. He's a guy that prides himself on skating the puck out. So is that a change in how Adam Foote wants him to play? I think that's more than likely that's the answer. It's just that he's leaning on him to the same degree that Rick Tocchet did and Bruce Boudreau did and Travis Green was starting to. But he has been asked to do things in a different way, and they're still sorting that out. That's kind of how I'm thinking things are playing right now.
I've never wanted to see Nils Hoglander more in my entire life. I
love the player, but I agree. Like, you need that industry. You need the guy that's getting in the puck. Like, that's the other thing in all this, right? Like, the way the lineup has been set up is, to begin with, has not been optimal because they don't have Hoglander, and Hoglander does change the dynamic of this group. You want to talk about why are there so many AHLers in the lineup? Well, it's also because their third best seek and destroy missile winger after Garland and Sherwood, Nils Hoglander, is not healthy and is not going to be playing at least for another month, I think, right?
Or I have one other question for him, but it's Caps related.
It's Caps related.
Well, because I saw his smiling face and gleaming dome at the round table with Axel Schuster.
Oh, yeah. By all
was
means.
there video?
Just some behind the scenes pics.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a still photo of everybody around.
Yes. Okay. Yes. The one
Axel
from behind.
Yes. What was your takeaway there? Because We are getting to brass tacks on what has been
Yeah.
just an incredible season on the pitch, but needless to say, there's this massive looming, we need a partner, we need an investor, or we have to sell the team going on off the pitch. And I understand Axel spoke to some of that in his roundtable. What was your takeaway?
Yeah. I mean, this is a team that is obviously selling lots of tickets, right? Like there is a clear level of support, very strong support, right? There's a frustration with how their lease is set up that they don't make any money despite all that.
We're going to get into the food and bev component later in the show, but they're a top 10 attended team and they're right at the bottom in food and
the
bev
claim
revenue.
is that they basically make the lease in the league. So and listen, like I talked to Chris May, who's the GM of the stadium for Pavco a month ago, and I wrote a column out of it. And he acknowledged, he said, listen, like these guys are an important tenant. I do recognize the reality is that things would be easier for them if they had their own stadium, but here they are. And as long as they are here, they are an important tenant to us. Acknowledge that they would have to give on food and bev to a degree. Now, whether they give on a degree that will make the Caps say, yes, we're staying and never going anywhere else, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Well, that's a small give, though, because here's the thing. It's not a give that's going to make like banner headline news for the public. So if you are worried about what the taxpayer is going to say about a taxpayer-owned and operated stadium on food and bev revenues, first of all, like it's just not going to come on the radar of a lot of people or be a big give. Secondly, something that would come on the radar and be a big give is if there's any kind of talk about the Caps leaving BC Place or leaving town, in which case you are missing the full revenue component of booking 17 home dates plus preseason plus cups and stuff like that, which would, I suspect, affect the bottom line in a significant way.
Well, and easier to sell the team when they're making money, right? So people will be blaming them, I think, as much as anybody.
The idea of a move is, I think it's extremely minimal. And he spoke to, I said, listen, he calls it option Z. And he said, yes, absolutely, people have called, but we have not talked to these people. Like, it's just not a thing we want to do. The fact that they are getting 26,000 people in that building tells you that this is a business that should work.
Yes, MLS would be silly to turn their back on this market.
MLS does not like the stadium, but they like the city. And listen, helping the Whitecaps get Thomas Muller, right? Like that's the other thing to remember in all this is that this is partly a league thing, is they wanted him to be here. And the success Muller is having, and somebody else mentioned this to me a while back, but the success that Muller is having surely is going to have an impact on guys he knows, right? You think about some of the players he has played with, and that's not just they're going to be interested in MLS. They will be interested in coming to Vancouver because the sort of the mentality, the atmosphere, the environment, he's loving it here. He's very pleased with what he's found. Now, obviously, he's only been here for a couple months, but on first sort of blush, he's quite happy. So there's a lot of things in the Whitecaps' favor. One of the things that is not in their favor is that, there's the revenue problem. It's a huge issue. So, in many ways, the buzz that a playoff run will bring, and they hope to get a long one. Obviously, losing on Saturday is greatly disappointing because the idea of hosting every single playoff games, including possibly the MLS Cup, like being able to actually wave that as opposed to being, maybe it'll shake out now. That would be a big deal, and there's a lot of buzz. Listen, they're opening the upstairs, like they're one of the questions that we discussed with him, what does it take? And he said, well, we have to be sold out by Wednesday, or Lower Bowl has to be sold by Wednesday. And
they've already announced.
We heard yesterday.
That's right.
They said yesterday, it's going that well. We're going to do it.
Make no mistake, this is an exceptional soccer market.
Yes,
it's such an exceptional soccer market that it actually has soccer history of commercial success going back nearly a half century, which very few markets in MLS or in America, and hell, none in Canada, can say.
Yeah.
So,
I'll just say this: the positioning too, the way they position themselves in this market, I think, has been very smart. Right, like they've spent a couple of years of basically not raising season tickets. They aren't going up very much again next year because they recognize. I mean, and this is something that we asked Axel. I mean, I said, "What are you most proud of?" And he said, "Well, I don't like to say that I'm proud of, but I am pleased, that when he arrived, we must remember." And he references things were really bad. Like people were very frustrated with the Caps. The women's scandal was very much happening. There was a lot of frustrations with previous management, and they were gone. And that's part of the reason why Axel and originally Mark Panis were brought in. And Axel says he is very pleased to see that the sort of the growth in sort of awareness. He'll go on running, he runs around Seawall, he says, and he'll see people actually in Whitecap stuff. And that was not the case when he arrived. And so the way that the sort of the awareness and value that people place on them is there. They see it and they want it, but they know they can grow more and they can be even bigger than they are. And you're right, Matt, like there's a huge history. I mean, there's a reason why the Whitecaps were so popular 45 years ago. And a lot of that standard stuff remains, and that's because you can play soccer here all year round. There are zillions and zillions of soccer players here. They've always been the case. And obviously we are one of the most diverse fan bases in North America. And this is the most diverse game in the world. I mean, it's the world's game, right? But like the fact that literally everybody plays to this team's favor because everybody's here.
And so, FIFA's holding 7 games here next year, which is more than a lot of other markets. No, Schuster has done an exceptional job. I hope they're able to keep him because his contract's up at the end of December, and I hope they get something that works a little better for them at BC Place to attract
we got him
investor for Greg.
We got him to acknowledge, by the way, that yes, he did have a call. I believe it was Augsburg gave him a call this year, but he did not interview, is what he made clear.
Okay. Well, we're happy to interview you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. Until next week.
Take care, guys.